All right, so first of all, can you tell us about some of the success that you've had in business, different jobs that you've had? I know you've had a lot.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I've worked in corporate roles for several years in several different companies in engineering, industrial engineering to be specific, finance, strategy, strategic planning, and revenue management. For mostly in the airline industry, the airline and transportation industries.
You work for Southwest Airlines, right?
Well, not Southwest.
Oh.
That was actually one of our competitors. So,
Oh.
no, U.S. Airways, America West Airlines, that merged with U.S. Airways in 2005. I've worked at AirTran Airways, a smaller airline called ATA Airlines. It's no longer in business, not because of me, but and UPS.
Okay. Did networking have a big influence on how you got a lot of these opportunities and stuff like that?
Certainly, networking, interpersonal skills is very important, I think, for an individual's career success, especially as you get further along in your career. When you start, probably not so much, just because your network, your professional network, your social network isn't as large.
Right.
But once you start to pick up a few years of experience, you start to meet people in your industry, you go to trade conferences, and you start to perform well and get around, if you will, to different companies, then I think it becomes more and more important in relationships.
Can you think of a specific example where you made a good relationship with someone and that led to an opportunity for you?
Oh, sure, absolutely. My third job is a direct result of a relationship that I created on my first job. So my first job was with AirTran Airways at their headquarters in Orlando, and my supervisor there, we went to the same school, so we had that in common, but we also had a really good working relationship. And I didn't stay on with that company for very long. I ended up pursuing other opportunities, but about, I'd say 4 years down the road, I applied for another job at this smaller airline, ATA Airlines, in Indianapolis, and lo and behold, this same guy was the hiring manager. And we hadn't kept in communication during that period, but he remembered me and he remembered the good relationship that we had when we worked together, and that really made the process of getting that job very smooth. Because I think, as you all will experience, once you get into these professional positions and these corporate jobs, mostly everybody can do the work. Everybody has the skills, right? The baseline skills and knowledge to be able to do the work. And so what becomes important is that skills plus, right? Knowledge plus. What is that plus? Are you a good person to work with? Are you a person that people want to be around? A person that people want to have on their team, right? A person will say, and I think it's important, your good relations and your good interpersonal skills may not always get picked up and recognized by people. But if you're not a good team player, if you have poor relations, that's certainly going to be noticed, right? And so while there may be some times where your good deeds go unnoticed, your bad deeds will never go unnoticed, and they'll always be amplified by people around you. And so you want to maintain positive relations and relationships.
What do you think are some of the things you can do when you're working with people to maintain those relationships?
That's a great question too. I think at a baseline level, and I'll just step back and be really general, just be courteous and nice to people. And be thoughtful of other people's positions, of other people's work. I think that a lot of, when you're working, you're not going to agree with a lot of people. And sometimes you might think that coworkers' opinions or what people say, if you're in a corporate boardroom like this, somebody might say something that you think is really dumb or just really stupid, not well thought out. You may be having a deeper knowledge of the numbers behind a certain project or something, you might in your head say, that was a really just stupid analysis, or this is just all wrong.
Right.
But being able to communicate that in a developmental way rather than being belligerent.
Can you think of an example of someone you've worked with that really didn't have these skills? They were maybe smart and could do the job, but it kind of hindered their career because they weren't relating to others, or they had a bad attitude.
Oh, sure. I can think of several of those sorts of examples. And I think you mentioned a good point, or an interesting point, where somebody is smart and can do the job but doesn't have these skills. I've seen a lot of individuals, and even some friends, their career progression stall out. Not necessarily that they get shown the door, but their career progression stalls out because welfare to heart. Right.
All right. And last question.
Sure.
What advice would you give to students now who are maybe thinking about entering the workforce in a couple of years about developing these skills? What should they do to work on it now so that they can be better by the time they get there?
That's a great question. So I'm going to take this opportunity to give some just real, down home, straightforward advice. And I said it before. Learn how to communicate with people and just generally be nice to people, right? I think that'll get you a long way. Simple things. Knowing how to say hi to people, right? You'd be surprised how many young people come into organizations, or how many young people just kind of walk around and seem to lack just basic human communication skills, smiling at people, right? So you walk down the halls of your new corporate job and you walk with your head down, you don't smile at people, you get in the elevator and you don't say anything to people. It sounds really basic, but I guarantee you, just being a cordial person or being perceived as somebody who has a generally upbeat or positive attitude is really part of that plus that I talked about, that knowledge plus, that skills plus. And so that's probably one basic thing, just learning how to say hi to people, learning how to smile to people, learning how to exist outside of your own realm, if you will, your own bubble. Because a lot of people walk and they're so contained with thinking about other things or themselves that they don't pay attention to the people they walk next to, et cetera, et cetera. Especially if you work for a larger firm, you might be getting in the elevator with the CEO. And you might not even know what he looks like, but he might be standing right next to you, right? And that's an opportunity to at least say hi, to at least, good morning, or have a good day, or something like that, or at least smile. You might be getting in an elevator with your boss 3 years removed, right? Or somebody that can give you, somebody in whose office you might show up for an interview 3 years from now. You hadn't planned on working in finance. You went in starting at HR, but things happen. It'd be great if they knew you, or at least knew of you, and that. So simple things. Build your social network and your professional network, but at the same time, be careful to be genuine, right? I think a lot of times, young people go in almost too eager, and lose a bit of that genuineness, right? And so when they forge these relationships, they don't come across as being real, they come across as being utilitarian, right? This person is just trying to make friends with me, or just trying to get in with me so that I can perhaps give them something, as opposed to just genuinely trying to develop a professional relationship. So build these relationships with the people that you work with people that you see in your organization, right?
Well, thank you very much. You're very smart. I love listening to you talk. So I think this is a lot of helpful information for our class.
Great. Hope it helped. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.